I think we're ready to go now.
It's me.
So, how is everybody doing? I'm in the studio with Gina, Thalia, and Stella Spacesweeper. So, I think usually folks would be expecting to be out and about and seeing y'all tomorrow out in Mother Nature, but there's no Mother Nature this time around. Mother Nature is being slightly disappointed because I tell you what I saw. A friend of mine, actually, I went by a cat place in Chapel Hill, Cattails, and they were talking about that the humans had cooties, so they could keep the cooties away. So that was their attitude. So as folks that are involved in the beaver world and everything, how are the beavers treating this? Are they just thinking that the animals have that the humans have totally lost their mind and that they're just going to stay comfortably away?
Well, I have heard from people that have been to the beaver marsh behind Compare Foods that the beavers seem actually fairly happy to have a lot of space these days and having things maybe be a little quieter than usual. And yeah, even though we're not gathering for the pageant in the park, nature is still there. And I think last week on Sunday, I was feeling bad about the world, and I went for a nature hike, and I can't say it solved everything, but it definitely really helped me feel a bit better about things. And so I mentioned that as something that can be good, at all times, even at some of the worst of times.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. It's definitely the worst of times or the best of times. We can find good things that are happening, and it can definitely support us and all of that kind of things. So, did anything unusual happen with the pageant this time around? Because I know we're going virtual, so that means that people will be doing the voting. Are they still voting now? Will they vote all the way up until the evening time, or will they just kind of like stop the voting at a certain time? How is the whole voting thing going to work? Or say there's somebody in Japan or Australia that wants to vote, and of course they're in a whole different time zone. So will they be able to vote, or how are we doing the voting? Because usually y'all pick a queen right at the end of the day.
Right, yeah. So yeah, people have been voting already, and they've been voting for the past couple of weeks, and they will still be able to vote tomorrow and Sunday, and even for several days after that. And yeah, people could vote from anywhere. We've had online voting as an option for a while, but it's pretty much the only option now. And so what's interesting about that is if you really wanted to be kind of corrupt about it and have nobody know about your vote and have no paper trail of your vote, that's a little harder this year because you do have to put in your name, credit card information, stuff like that. But it's the option that's there this year, and it's what we're doing.
Wow. And you've been
and the place where
you can vote anonymously, right? So
yeah, there is an option to say anonymous, but you do have to put in some information. Yeah, and the place where you vote is at beaverqueen.org. Once you're at that site, it's pretty easy.
Yes.
There's various donate buttons in different places on there, and you can choose your favorite contestant, or you can just bribe a judge if you feel like I can't choose. You can send a bribe to one of the judges.
Cool.
That'll work.
Now, what if somebody comes along and they're like, I see these.
You can also text.
They're American beavers.
BQP
I want to enter
to 41411.
Could you repeat the texting to vote information?
No problem. I was asking.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You wanted to.
So you can also text.
Yeah, go ahead. You can also text.
You can text vote BQP to 41411.
Cool. So folks can
get
that text in.
Vote BQP to 41411.
You probably can't see it on the poster that well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
but
great.
It's on there.
You can see it,
yeah. I see it.
Okay.
beaverqueen.org.
Okay. And Marc, could you repeat the question you were asking?
No problem. I was just asking now if somebody was watching and they saw this going on today and they wanted to say, flood the voting from their neighborhood, or even wanted to bring in a ringer candidate. Is that allowed this time, or can they have to stick with the candidates that the Beaver Pageant has already put together? Like if somebody was listening, say in Japan or in Philadelphia, they're like, I like these contestants, but I've got another animal that I want to put in there. Can we have a ringer contestant? So is that totally out of the realm of possibility?
I think the best thing
unfortunately,
to do,
we already have.
I think the best thing to do would
contestants.
find the candidate that is the closest to your ideal candidate. Right? So, and maybe that candidate that you'd want to write in, maybe that candidate can be in the next pageant. But we did actually have an open call for people from around the world to participate. And we had some international interest in participation, but it wasn't the sort of thing that was easy to get together in the amount of time we had for planning. So, yeah, I think that we pretty much have our 6 existing candidates right now. But I think that there's a good chance someone can find a candidate that's going to be someone who speaks to them if they take the time to watch the episodes and see what they think. I know in some elections some people really love that write-in thing, but the people who are up there that are declared candidates, they've put in the work right now, and I feel like it's best to encourage supporting them.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, for those that are watching this for the first time and are seeing about the Beaver Pageant, because we've got friends that are watching, like I said, from IBM TV, as well as around Facebook and stuff that are on my platform and everything. Of course, I've been there. I love that event. Several of my friends love it. We love going out there, having a grand time when we can be outside. But for those that are new to the Beaver Pageant, please, one of you give a little rundown and explanation of what it's about. I know that it's a fundraiser for the Ellerbee Creek organization and things of that nature, but just give a little bit about what it's about. And then also, if you want to share a little bit about the 6 candidates, that would be great too.
Right. Jeannie, I'll let you take this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Beaver Queen Pageant, yes. First and foremost, it's a fundraiser for the Ellerbee Creek Watershed Association, but it's also a really fun event where it's somewhere between a drag performance and a beauty queen pageant, but with beavers. You can watch all of these contestants introduce themselves in their wetlands wear, show you their talent, and answer some really burning questions that you might have. It was started when a group of neighbors in Duke Park were experiencing some flooding issues with the beaver pond, and the city's reaction was to exterminate the beavers, and they decided that was a terrible idea, so they were going to put on this tongue-in-cheek pageant to raise awareness and cause some civic action, and it kind of morphed over the next 16 years into this fully fledged, amazing bit of Durham history. I had the privilege of being in the second pageant and in the last pageant where I took the crown.
Yes.
And we've got some just incredible beavers this year.
And just for those that are, like I said, new to it and everything, what led you to become a pageant contestant? And was it that you were always involved in environmental things, or was it just the fun of the activity? What made you personally decide that you wanted to enter the contest and then win the contest?
So it's kind of a different answer depending on what year I competed. The first year, when I was 17 years old, I just thought it sounded like a ton of fun and a great way to be creative and dress up and embrace my community. And that was enough for me at that time. And as I grew older and was still involved with the pageant, mostly as an audience member, but sometimes as a very corrupt judge, I learned to see that a fundraising event doesn't have to be this standard thing of, it doesn't have to be a sad story. It can be a bright light of creativity full of rainbows and sparkles and silliness, and people will love to be there and they will want to donate. It means more to me than anything, not only for its environmental movements, but also the way that it nurtures the creative LGBTQIA community in Durham. And I've always considered myself a very strong ally. Sorry, my headphones keep falling off.
No problem.
I'm trying to hide them under my veil.
Right. And my story is really different because I had never attended the pageant before I competed as a contestant. I think I had heard about it on the State of Things radio show one time and thought that sounds interesting, but I hadn't gone. And then somebody who I knew, it was another mom at my kids' preschool, she'd noticed some artwork of groundhogs I'd done. And she was like, you seem to really love animals, don't you? Yeah. And she happened to be connected with some people involved in the pageant planning. And for me, the draw has always been beavers. I love animals, but I think that once you become a beaver, or in some cases realize that you are a beaver, you really start to develop and deepen your appreciation for all beavers and what beavers contribute to our natural world and our society. And so that's really what keeps me going with it is really the connection with nature and the appreciation for beavers. They are amazing animals.
They are very amazing animals, and they seem to enjoy. One interesting thing is just to kind of like come back around to a couple of things. One, I've always admired the fact that the Beaver Pageant is very inclusive, and we know that the whole nature of inclusive nature has been very much at the forefront of a lot of people's minds with what's going on with the protests and things of that nature. But the other thing that I've always thought about the Beaver Pageant is that beavers as an animal are also very clean animals. They wash their fish and they do everything like that us humans are now learning to do. So we're having to do this on a regular basis, wash our hands and do things that we probably should have been doing all along. So I'm thinking that when you're out there communing with the beavers and the rest of the animals out there, they're probably looking at us and going like, you folks should have been doing this all along. We go out there, we wash our hands before we have our meals, and we do things along that nature in terms of what they're encouraging us to do during this time that has caused the pageant to go virtual, which is the whole coronavirus situation that we're in. And like I said, the protest as well. So I'm just wondering if you had any reflections on that as well, because like I said, when I think of certain animals as being animals that are relatively clean, definitely the otters, which clean their stuff, beavers as well. But a lot of other animals are probably more clean than us humans are.
But beavers like to get dirty too. We need to use dirt to build our stuff. So even though you might think of us as really clean, we've got our dirty side too, right?
That is
but
very
at the same
true.
time,
true.
we're interacting in harmony with nature. We're making the water cleaner by the dams that we build and the things that we do. So.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think that beavers are actually some of the cleanest animals because their beaver dams filter the water from pollution. So we are, environmental champions.
Yep, definitely. And I'm just curious, like, have you had a chance, like, friends of mine actually will tease me sometimes. They'll be like, because I'll go outside and they'll try to commune with nature, try to talk to, and yes, I will go have a conversation with the birds and the squirrels.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I haven't seen the squirrels as much lately. I think they're in hiding. But definitely have a conversation with the birds and the cats and other animals that are out there. But I think that's something we should be doing on a more regular basis, is having conversations with the wildlife. I don't think that we do enough of that. So y'all, have you had a chance to get out into nature? Because I know a lot of us are confined in our homes and having to do things in the confined natures. But I'm also seeing people out and about, walking with their dogs, walking with their other animals. Not so much walking with the cats, because cats are going to resist. But just how are you coping with getting out into nature and everything?
Yeah, I try to get out a lot, almost every day if I can. And sometimes that just means I'm just sitting in my yard staring at a tree. Sometimes during this pandemic, it's been hard to really, figure out what to do or what to think sometimes. So sometimes it's just stare at a tree, listen to the birds, things like that. Other times, I do just find I'm just drawn to trees, and I'm drawn to nature. So, today I was out walking and, took a little side trip, on some wooded trails just to keep that connection going. Yeah. What about you, Jeannie?
Well, I actually was out in Duke Park, and You may be surprised to see the meadow without all the glitz and glamour of the pageant, but it's still just as beautiful without it. So yeah, I would encourage people to get out in nature every day. Durham has so many beautiful green spaces, and it's one of the things that we're trying to protect with this fundraiser.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've regretted. Like I said, I live near, of course, many people know I work at Haytide, but I live near Duke's campus, and for a while was walking near Duke Pond, that little small pond across from the elderly center and things of that nature. So I was walking out there, and I need to get back to walking. 90-degree temperatures ain't exactly great for walking, so I've got to wait till it gets a little cooler and things of that nature, maybe do the walk in the morning or in the afternoon. But I know even when I've caught the bus or got other forms of mass transportation that I might get around and about, it's just sad to me seeing like Duke Gardens not open right now. So I'm hoping that they'll open very soon. But right now, they're still one of the closed institutions that have such great nature and everything. So I agree with you that there's so many of these great things out there that are even public spaces that I would like to see reopened at some point. And hopefully, as things are becoming more open, that's one of the things that they'll consider opening in the near future, because I just find it sad that they're not able to do that.
Yeah.
One thing that's been nice is that the Ellerbee Creek Watershed Association preserves have been open the whole time. Like even when the state parks were closed, the trails that are out near the Beaver Marsh or the trails at the 17-acre wood, those have been open. So, and I think those little nature preserves are so vital, just because you don't have to drive 15 miles to go see nature. It's right there. You know, it's right near your park, or it's right near your grocery store. Yeah.
And sometimes it's just right there out in your backyard. Like I said, I went walking to a convenience store, saw a couple of small birds. I think they might have been sparrows, or it could have even been chickadees, but they were just having a good old time. I'm actually of the opinion that they might even be singing a brighter song this year, because they're not having as much of our cars and other things going out that are causing them to have their own kind of like panic attacks and everything. So they're actually enjoying us being a little bit more mellow. At least that's my opinion. They seem to like enjoy our quietness. And I don't know how the two of you feel, but as a Beaver Pageant past contestants, but it seems to me that the animals are actually a lot more vibrant this year, and the plants as well. It seems like they're actually enjoying our quietness because of what's being forced on us, but it definitely seems like they are definitely more vocal than I've heard them in years past.
Yeah, they seem louder. I'm not sure if it's me or if it's them, but yeah, I notice every day.
They're finding their voice too.
Yeah.
So I will say a lot of our contestants have filmed most of their videos outside, so you can even enjoy nature remotely through their wonderful submissions that we have coming up.
This is true.
And
great point.
I mean, I'm definitely want people to look it up and everything.
Oh, yes, of course.
About the contestants and what contestants we have and who they'll be looking at.
So, we've got Beaver Sanders, who is our Democratic contestant, and he is just fantastic. He's going to support the Revolution for All. We've got Boy George Beaver, who's a beaver from across the pond, and just sings their heart out to their #1 hit, Beaver Dams. You won't want to miss that. Who else do we have, Stella?
Well, we've got Dr. Dam Savage. Dr. Dam is an advice columnist. He's been taking questions on Instagram, and he's gotten some really very interesting questions. If you want, I'll look one of those up in a minute for you.
Please do. I'd love to hear what these questions are.
Yeah, let me look that up. And Jeannie, can you tell them a little bit about Payne and Beaverly Crusher and everybody while I do that?
Oh, of course. So we've got Payne Fonda. She's our fitness beaver this year. She is totally tubular, and you will just get so sweaty. You can be in the AC, but you will get so sweaty watching her talent video. We have Martha Dam, who is truly a Beaver diva. She has revolutionized the movement of the tail, and I think you will just be in awe when you see her talent video. And then finally we have Beaverly Crusher and Locutus of Beevorg. So for us Star Trek The Next Generation nerds, You'll know them from the hit TV show, and they essentially are telling an episode about what happens when institutions try to repress creativity and pollute our environment. And you'll have to stay tuned to see how that turns out.
Wow. Sounds like there are definitely some fascinating candidates. I'm trying to think of which one I'm going to go out and vote for. There are all several that are like touching me and everything. So
I
this
know.
might be a difficult decision.
Yes,
So,
and I sometimes vote for more than one candidate.
It's totally okay to do that.
Mm-hmm.
so I may have to do that. I might have to figure out how to vote for more than one. So since both of you, I think both of you have won. I know you have, Gina. You won as well in 1 year. So what do you think is the key to being a victorious Beaver Pageant winner? When you're doing it live, as well as the virtual variation. But if it was a live contest, what would be the key to victory?
Being true to your beaver, being a strong advocate for your community and for your local environment. I don't think that there's any one right beaver queen, because all of us are so different, and that's what makes us so special and beautiful. It's hard to say. If you look at all the queens, you'll see something totally different each year. I think it's not really the point of the Beaver Queen pageant to wear the crown, though it's sparkly and beautiful. The connections that you make along the way. I was a contestant last year, and I gained 5 new friends in the process. And one of those contestants, Beaver Knievel, actually joined the planning committee with me this year. And it was quite a strange situation when you go from planning an in-person pageant to doing a complete 180 and doing a completely virtual pageant for the first time in Beaver history. But we did it, and I am so proud of all of our hard work. And I know that it's something incredibly special, and it will make people so happy, and it'll bring you so much joy. And our contestants just had a fantastic time doing this. And that's what's important, to find some creative outlet to cope with your frustrations, to find your inner voice, to share the beauty of your own unique identity with the world. It's a really special thing.
Yeah, it's very special, and there's no doubt about that. Now, one of the things, because I've had friends that have been the judges, I've actually been involved in some work with, I think 1 year I might have done a little bit of the DJing, and definitely have done some other small roles with y'all and everything. But that being said, I've had friends that have been judges, and one of the great things when you're live is you get to bribe the judges. So how are we doing that virtually? Because that's an important part of the element. I know that my good friend Jess Aberhart really enjoyed being a judge because she got really good bribes and everything. And I've had some other friends that have been judges as well. So in a virtual reality, how are we going to be able to bribe the judges?
So you can actually see our judges online. It's at beaverqueen.org. We've got an interesting selection of judges as well. We've got Tooth Beaver Ginsburg and Arnold Schwarzenbeaver, Justin Beaver, and Dante Thunderstone. And you can vote for them. Essentially, when you vote for them, that is considered your bribe. So you still have complete access to bribe the judges. And I'm sure that if you drop off any donations at Vaguely Reminiscent, it'll get to Tooth Beaver Ginsburg.
Wow. Did you find that Instagram post, Stella?
I did. I found one of them, yeah, and I'll just read it for you all.
Okay.
So this was the question. Dear Dr. Dam, I'm a subadult beaver still living in my home, and I'm starting to change, if you know what I mean. My tail seems to be hard all the time, and I keep bumping into things. My fur's gotten very thick, and I can't seem to think straight. Help, please, from Young Dick. Dear Young, everything you're going through is perfectly natural. You'll figure this out. Trust in your instincts and know that if it feels good to you, it's probably fine. Make some time to be alone to slap the pond. This is perfectly natural and will not make you grow fur on your tail. Give yourself time to figure out what kind of beaver you are and what kind of beavers or even other species you want to spend special time with. Practice talking about what you need and feel so you can ask for it when you meet someone nice. Yours truly, Dr. Dam.
Wow, definitely. So definitely appreciate that and everything. So great advice that was given.
And he had another good question in his intro video that's currently available. Like, our other videos won't be available until Saturday night for the talent, And then Sunday night, we've got the question answer session. But the intro videos that aired last night are available right now on the beaverqueen.org site and on the Beaver Lodge YouTube page. So that's so people can still catch up if they didn't see the intros last week. You can either watch the whole episode, or you can click on a contestant's name to watch their short video where they introduce themselves.
Wow. Well, you'll be glad to know that I just saw that because I'm watching some of the comments that Today in North Carolina History is sharing this particular interview on their page, and they're and asking people to like their page, which is Today in North Carolina History. And
Hi,
somebody involved with
Hello.
one of the other organizations with IBM is suggesting that this particular interview be put on their kids programming, because even though it's definitely some fun programming, it's about the kids. I mean, it's about something that's fun as well. So Russ Cade was saying that might be a good program for the kids to learn about as well. So, and you actually started when you were, Gina, when you were a teenager, I believe, right? Was the first time you were involved?
Yes, I started the pageant when I was 17. I was not Jeannie Thalia, though. I was a completely different beaver. I had an identity change. But yeah, this program is 100% kid friendly and kit friendly. Yeah, we rate it BTV or TVB, which is good for all beavers. So yes, please bring all your family. Share it with everybody you know.
And like I said, that's one of the things that I enjoyed about the involvement when I would go there live and everything. It was definitely a wide range of people, everything from all kinds of orientations, both genders were represented, definitely all kinds of races and classes were there as well. So it was definitely in my mind, one of the most diverse parties that Durham has and everything. When I think of Durham parties that have that kind of attitude, I think of two that come to my mind. Definitely the Beaver Pageant being one, and the other one, unfortunately, it doesn't happen anymore. Maybe we'll bring it back. But I know one of the Beaver Pageant organizers was involved with Mary Durham, as was I. So that's another one that we definitely loved and missed and everything. So hopefully that can come back, because definitely these kind of like things that energize and mobilize our community in a positive way are a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so the Beaver Queen pageant is usually in a public space, and the event is 100% free to everyone. We want more people to be there. We want people to see, what a unique community we are. And the only thing that costs is to just, vote or to bribe a judge. And I want to give a shout out to one other organization that is very similar to the Beaver Queen pageant. It is not kid friendly, but it is a really great organization called LUDE, League of Upper Extremity Women's Wrestling Division. And it is essentially an arm wrestling contest. In fact, our most recent contestant, Payne Fonda, came from LUDE. So they cycle through various nonprofits that they are raising money for. So if you like the Beaver Queen pageant, it's worth checking them out too.
And that's one of the things that some people may not be aware of. Does the Beaver Queen pageant just give to Ellerbee Creek, or are there other organizations that they reach out to as well, or is it just strictly for the Ellerbee Creek folks?
Yes, this is a fundraiser primarily for Ellerbee Creek. We are asking people to make donations from small businesses to go buy gift certificates and something from a small business. So, in some ways we're also supporting the local community while, creating these donations and bribe baskets and gift baskets.
Yeah, and one of my friends that was actually watching, Robert Dino Comer, who's actually watching from Michigan, he was actually wondering whether any of the contestants had actually run across the actual, in the dams, the actual beaver animal, and whether you had a chance to have a conversation with them, and whether they had actually approved, and whether it was beaver approved this particular contest.
Yes. Absolutely. I am currently the queen of beavers, and I've had a long discussion with my royal subjects, and the beavers all unanimously agreed that the Beaver Queen pageant is 100% awesome, and they encourage you all to watch.
Definitely.
And and when I'm concerned, when I have big questions, sometimes I go and seek out the wisdom of the great the Great Beaver and ask for guidance. So that's another way. We asked, should we delay the pageant? And the Great Beaver said, the reason you wanted to do it in a pandemic was to bring joy to people, and that's still important. And so that's the latest feedback and the latest consultation that I've had with that.
And I agree. Seeing these kind of events that are going virtual, and I've seen a number of them. I'm friends with the people over at North Star Church of the Arts, and they've done some concerts.
Oh, they're great. Yeah.
Virtual, as well as some other things. Hayti has done some virtual events, and I think Carolina Theater will be starting to do some in the near future. So definitely, until we can all get back into the same space and enjoy the common space together, maybe 6 feet apart, but still enjoying the common space, I think that these kind of opportunities are going to be great. And I'm hoping that next year, 2021, we don't have to take the Beaver Pageant up to space, and we can still have it live and in person and not do it virtually, but only nature and what happens with nature will determine that. But it's my hope that we'll be able to actually get it back out into Mother Nature where folks can enjoy it and everything. Now, I am going to tell you the truth, though. The Beaver Pageant, and I've also worked with the Eno, can fall sometimes on hot days. And
oh, God.
I'm not going to argue with it being virtual on this particular year because it was around 90 degrees today. So that means tomorrow, when y'all usually would be doing it, I think it was also forecast to be a little bit on the toasty side. So I'll be perfectly fine watching the Beaver Pageant from the comfort of my air-conditioned home.
I tell you what, I think everybody, when they watch each episode, should just stop for a minute and go, hey, I'm not sweating in the meadow.
Unless you're watching Jane Fonda, and then you might be sweating.
It's true.
That's right, because you did say one of the Beaver Pageants has a whole exercise routine and everything.
Right. And that routine will really get your heart beating and get you sweating, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Hey, I want to go back to talking about the kits for a minute, or the kids, or the kits, both, actually. I think Sunday's episode is going to be really special for them.
Yes.
Because that's the episode where we're going to do the blessing of the kits, which is usually something that happens very early in the pageant. And so that was recorded last weekend, and it's going to be really special. But there's another part of that episode. At the end, I'm going to be telling a little beaver story as sort of a bedtime story. So I would say that if somebody was watching the pageant with kids, they would definitely not want to miss Sunday night, just for both of those things.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think that the kid element, like I said, I've always been a fan of how much of a family-oriented event the Beaver Pageant is. It just seems that so many great folks are out there with their entire families, no matter what the configuration of the family is, but they just seem to be everybody from the little kids and the babies on up to the 80 and 90-year-olds are out there having a good old time. So it's a wide range of folks that are out there. So that's one of the things I've always admired about it. Are there any other special episodes that will be taking place during the Beaver Pageant weekend? You mentioned the kid element. Of course, there's the bribing the judges, which we all know about, and there's the 6 contestants. But are there any other special things that we should be aware of?
Yeah, we're going to have little skits kind of all through. So essentially, instead of doing the full length of the pageant, we're kind of breaking it up into the wetlands where the talent and the Q and answer. And like the typical pageant, we'll have some fun skits in between to, space out the awesome contestant videos. I personally hope you are looking forward, but not too forward, to my farewell song. I'll be delivering something really special, but that will be on June 13th, the coronation.
Right.
Which is our last.
The coronation is not happening until
at least
the 13th. Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
The coronation will be on June 13th versus on the regular time when it would be.
Right. We're going to take some time to get the feedback from the judges and to allow people to do a bit more voting, because one of the things we realize is that not everybody's going to watch the pageant live, and we want people to be able to watch it at the time that's right for them, whether that time is 2 a.m. or at 8 a.m. on a Sunday or whatever. So we want to give people some time to catch up on that, maybe put a lot of thought into their decisions about how to vote if they're going to vote, Yeah,
these are such a strong group of contestants. I think you will need that extra time to really deliberate.
Yeah. And one thing I would say too is once the episodes this weekend air, it's possible to just binge watch everything at some point too. Like if somebody's pretty busy on Saturdays, we aren't as busy on Saturdays as we used to be, but let's say somebody is busy on Saturdays and Sundays, they could just binge watch and catch up on it all too, and that would work as well.
Yeah, definitely. I know in the past there have been certain nightclubs here in Durham that had also been involved in terms of like places that the parties would be and things of that nature. How are they being involved, or are they being involved in this new virtual world? Because I know in the past y'all have done things at some of our local night spots, but have there had any involvement even in showing it or being involved or sponsoring or any other kind of ways in this particular version of the Beaver Pageant?
Yeah, the location of our after parties are definitely being hit hard right now. We've gotten a handful of people from the community to donate gift certificates from those institutions. Just, anything is better than nothing at this point. And we would be devastated to watch those places close. So we really hope that you'll get out there and spend your money wisely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of different places have had their own fundraisers and stuff. For example, Arcana, which has had the after party the past couple of years, I'm one of their Patreon supporters now, because they set up a thing where you can get handwritten recipe cards for funky cocktails that they make if you support them on Patreon. And I happened to see that one day, and I was like, yeah, I want to support that place. So, so a lot of us are, kind of, in addition to sort of what the pageant does, we do our own sort of supportive things that we do for the places that we care about.
Yeah, and y'all do a great job. I've been admiring both of you in terms of the advocacy work that you've been doing. It doesn't matter whether you're newer to the advocacy work as you are, Gina, or been doing it for a while, Stella, but both of y'all I have a great deal of admiration for and love the ways that y'all are involved, not just with this, but in our greater community as well. So I appreciate both of you just in the ways that y'all are engaged in the community, and y'all have fun in the process of doing it. So that's a great thing.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, it really is fun, and it really is a pleasure to do this stuff. And yeah, there's so many places that I've been open up to from being involved in the pageant. I work in Durham. I'm there every day, but I live in Carborough. And, I've just discovered a lot of places just through doing this. Like if I see somebody has sponsored the pageant, I'm like, okay, I want to know who they are. I want to know more about them. Yeah. And then I'll even be like, when it's time in the Indie Week thing to vote for a business or whatever, I'll be like, okay, are any of my Beaver Buddy businesses on here?
So what I do want to mention that if you buy anything at Loco Pops on Monday for delivery on Tuesday, I think a portion of that purchase is going to go towards the pageant and towards Ellerbee Creek Watershed Association.
And if folks are interested in looking at these contestants, they should do that at the website. And either one of you, can you get that website one more time? And then will the coronation be aired live, or how will y'all be doing the coronation? It's a virtual event, so whenever the pageant winner is picked, will y'all go to their house and record their coronation, or how is the coronation going to be done?
Well, I think we should keep that a surprise.
Yeah, there's going to be some surprises involved in that for many of us. Yeah.
But that website is beaverqueen.org. That's beaverqueen.org.
beaverqueen.org. That's where they should go to and learn all of these fantastic things.
And I think it's always important to remember to vote if you feel moved by a candidate. I have noticed that being involved in this as a Beaver Queen candidate, I vote more now. I have voted in every election since then, and I pay attention to people trying to get my vote in a way that I kind of paid attention to before. But once you've gone out and tried to get people's vote, wow, you really think about it differently. So.
Definitely. What are some of the things that you have learned about? Two questions, and then we'll get ready to wrap up shortly. But what are two of the things you have learned just in your own knowledge about both the Ellerbee Creek area as well as about beavers in general that you did not know before? So tell us some things that you have learned that you did not know before about both of those things, Ellerbee Creek and about beavers in general.
Well, one thing that I learned about Ellerbee Creek is that unfortunately it's one of the most polluted bodies of water in North Carolina. And so it's really important that we keep it clean and raise money to support Ellerbee Creek Watershed Association. And then, gosh, the amount of beaver facts. I am struggling to think of just one. So beavers' teeth continually grow for their entire lives. And so they need to gnaw on wood in order to keep them nice and short.
Okay, I'll start with my beaver knowledge. I am currently reading The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe to my son. And there's Mr. and Mrs. Beaver in there as main characters. And that's really fun. But when they first meet Mr. and Mrs. Beaver, they're eating fish. And beavers are strict vegetarians, So it's one of those things, that, I had to have this talk, the beaver talk, like beavers aren't exactly like they are in the Narnia book, But Mr. and Mrs. Beaver are great, are great important characters and all. But when I was in the pageant, I did a song about Ellerbee Creek that went, Ellerbee, 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 Ellerbee. And one of the lines in it was, in many parts of Durham, she's flowing right in front of me. And that was what I discovered was, I didn't know about Equa before I did the Beaver Pageant. And then I'd just be around Durham and I'd be like, there's another sign for Ellerbee Creek. There's another sign for Ellerbee Creek. I'm in Central Park. There's Ellerbee Creek. I'm at Costco. There's Ellerbee Creek. I'm at Museum of Life and Science. There's Ellerbee Creek. And it covers a big area in a lot of parts of Durham. And I think I really hadn't realized that until I got so involved in the pageant. And I think a lot of us have some special creek in our lives, whether it's, like I can think of a special creek in Pennsylvania where my grandparents lived, or I've got, there's some beautiful creeks in Carborough near where I go out walking and stuff. But there really is something about Ellerbee Creek. It always surprises me. The last time I was there was on Sunday last week, and I just saw the most beautiful great blue heron. I was just, wow, Yep.
So I feel like he's involved with Ellerbee Creek and is also a big-time artist here in the area, but is also a big fan of turtles. So he goes out there sometimes. Oh, yeah,
great turtle watching. Oh, my God.
That reminds me of a beaver fact. So beavers are actually a keystone species that their dams and their beaver lodges enable biodiversity. So all creatures benefit from beavers.
Absolutely.
But, Mark, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Would you ever consider being a contestant?
Well, I was just talking to my friend Robert Dino Comer. He was asking me all kinds of questions about whether he was the only one interacting on the show, and I might have to get dressed up and do that. Either that or be a judge, but I have to come up with one or the other. But I was definitely get more involved in one form or fashion or another. Y'all have not had a blues beaver yet, so we might have to have a blues beaver.
It's time. Well, we had Muddy Waters.
Muddy Waters.
Okay,
she's in the beauty operators now. She was there, but I think there's plenty of room for more blues beavers for sure.
Yeah, definitely more time for that.
You can never have too many blues beavers, truthfully.
No.
So not had enough diversity in that sense, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that could actually even raise the other question, because I'm sure that one of the things that will come up just in the course of time is that, like I said, it's a very diverse crowd that is out there, but there have been some different ethnicities that have participated as well, but probably need a little bit more diversity in that category as well. So that might be something that I'll have to consider as well. So my other activist friends to get involved as well. Like maybe we'll come up with a couple of activist beavers, since there's all this activism that's going on around the community.
Keep your eyes out for beaver talent for us, please. Yeah.
And if you want to email us, you can contact us at localbeaverlodge@gmail.com.
Okay. And that would be the same for anybody that's listening on the international side or whatever as well, because I do think you said, Stella, that y'all might be interested in getting some people from other parts of the world as we continue to grow this thing, because even though it's happening here, it's happening in other parts of the world as well. Some of the issues that we're dealing with Ellerbee Creek, some of the pollution and some of the other things are happening in other places. So even though we're raising the money for Ellerbee Creek, the issue is more worldwide.
Absolutely.
So that might be something we have to consider and everything. By the way, my friend Gino said that this project truly reached him when you shared that this Beaver Pageant is a children-friendly, because he has spent his entire life educating and motivating our youth. So he says that, and he agreed with y'all that you can't have too many blues beavers. So he said, even though you had money, he might need another one as well. You know, Dino's an amazing comedian, so I might have to talk him into digging up his robot and seeing if he can become one as well. Have him dig up some of his skills.
While we're talking about kits, I should mention that last year we had a 13-year-old beaver compete.
Yeah, naughty beaver.
For kits and performed by kits.
Yes,
and did a great job. Matter of fact, Dino just said that he wants to be the comedy beaver. So he wants to be
excellent. I love comedy beavers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it looks like there is some interest in this and everything. So we might have to create that kind of avenue for a lot of folks. Now, if folks are dealing, like I said, we're going to wrap up very shortly and everything, but as folks are dealing with these very serious issues and everything, could you tell folks how they could, how it would relate to what they're going through? Because, I mean, we've got a lot of folks that are doing the protests with Black Lives Matter and some of the George Floyd stuff, and we've also got what's going on with the coronavirus. So people are in a very serious mode, and I know that we love the lightheartedness nature of this and everything, but can you say how this might also impact those folks that are involved in that, and why you would want them to get involved with watching it also? Because you might have some thoughts on that.
Yeah. I think this whole Beaver Queen pageant thing really started in a spirit of protest, of standing up for your beliefs. And so we connect really deeply with people that are standing up for their beliefs right now. Like, I completely understand if somebody's like, hey, Saturday I'm going to be busy going to a vigil or a protest or something like that. And so I think that, the way that we've set this up so that you can view it at a time that works for you is, it's sort of a side benefit of it being a virtual pageant, but I'm kind of glad that it's kind of worked out this way this year, just because of the way things are. Because there's maybe going to be a moment where you're not in the mood to watch this stuff, but there might be a moment a few days later where you're feeling different about stuff. The other night, I just watched one of the videos for the first time, and I just laughed for a really long time. And it was the first time in a few days that I laughed like that. And it felt different and it felt good. And I want that for people. I want people to remember what it feels like to laugh and to enjoy things in life too. But I think at the end of the day, we all really want a better world, right? And so Beavers work to build a better world. And however you do that, I feel like I'm there with you. I'm with you in spirit. I'm with you in strength.
Definitely. Appreciate those words. And
creativity.
We're seeing some of the youth being involved, Gina, as well, and some of the other things that are going on. So a similar thought to you, how would you address those folks that are of a younger age and everything that are involved in all of these things, and why they should be sitting back and watching the pageant as they're thinking about some of the other harder hitting issues that are going on?
Well, I'm not such a young beaver anymore, but when I did compete when I was 17, it really empowered me in a way to recognize my own ability to champion, statements and movements that I feel are powerful. I think that creative expression is a wonderful coping mechanism during troubling times. And either watching it or doing it, the Beaver Queen pageant has helped me become a bolder person and recognize that, you have this strength to be dressed up as a crazy beaver character in a crowd of people. And so you should be able to stand in front of that same crowd and be able to make a statement from the heart that is going to support your community.
Definitely. Appreciate both of your
creative piece is so important too. sometimes the things, like if I go to a march or a protest, sometimes the things that I take with me is maybe a sign that has an arresting visual, or a sort of a display of words that's just a little different, that puts a different spin on things like that. And so I think that as we encourage people to be creative, we encourage people to think a little bit differently about stuff, and and hopefully reach people in a way that people need to be reached on what really matters.
Yep, definitely. And by the way, you know this, Stella. He's actually in Pennsylvania. He's actually the person who's been teaching me about digital media. But he said,
great. Yeah.
And he said he's tuning in with the bears and the turkeys in Pennsylvania. So don't know if he was there, but he did say that he was out in the back area and he was tuning in with both the bears and the turkeys. So they are appreciating what's going on with the beavers and the Beaver Pageant. So this is turkeys and bears where he's at.
Yeah. Well, Pennsylvania is a great beaver state. It really is. North Carolina too, but yeah.
Definitely. Well, I appreciate y'all both being on here, and we definitely want folks to definitely get involved and check those various things that are going on. So when can they go onto their website to start checking the things out virtually? What time should they go on, say, tomorrow and Sunday, and then what time should they tune in for the coronation? We don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be a mystery surprise.
If you go on to beaverqueen.org, again, beaverqueen.org, you can watch our first episode. We'll introduce the contestants, and you'll get a little snippet of what they're like. But then tomorrow at 6 p.m., our talent episode will air live, and then you can rewatch it forever after that. On Sunday, also same time, 6 p.m., and coronation, you're going to have to stay tuned, but it's probably going to be June 13th at 6 p.m.
Okay. Yeah, and we chose 6 p.m., We chose 6 p.m. hoping not to conflict with other events, because there are a lot of virtual events going on, like through Pinhook, House of Cox has a drag event at 8 p.m. most Saturdays, and we didn't really want people to feel like they had divided attention, but you really can watch it at a time that works for you as well. So.
And the episodes are about 30 minutes each, maybe a little bit shorter.
And they start right at 6. Like, it's not like, I think when you go to the pageant, you're used to kind of like, kind of waiting for things to start. And so yeah, if you want to try to watch it live, then, just try to be ready for it at 6 and all. But
now, will we have some of the same people in terms of the introductions that we've had in the past? Because I know Frank Stacio has been involved for a number of years, but I don't know if Frank's going to be involved in this since we've gone virtual, and some of the other people that have been involved in the past. So will they still be involved, or will they be involved in another way? Some of the folks that might be used to certain people being involved, what will their involvement be? And are there any particular talents that folks should be looking for? We've already learned about this great exercise talent that's going to happen, but are there any other ones that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, so Frank's last year was declared last year, and we did a special goodbye song to him. And, he kind of just felt like, hey, I'm an old white guy. time to, let some new people do this for a while. But he's still a supporter of the whole event. So we've got I think you'll see some familiar faces in the emceeing. And yeah, there's kind of this thing, we don't want to give everything away necessarily, but yeah.
Well, I cannot make it a I just had an idea, and I'm going to have to think about it. I mean, I like your idea, Gina, and I might still explore that idea, but I am also a member of the NABJ Triangle, which is the National Association of Black Journalists Triangle. So I might have to see if I can't talk some of my anchor friends like Anthony Wilson and some of those kind of folks into getting involved in the pageant, since they have not been involved in the past. So we might have to see if we can get involved in one form or fashion or another.
Yeah, and this is a great year. It's a great year to expose people to it because, again, they can watch the videos whenever. It's not like you have to get them to Duke Park to have the experience, right?
So if you want a sense of some of the pageants from the past, you can go on YouTube and check out the Beaver Lodge. And we've got most of the pageants, I think, since 2009, I want to say. So all years of the pageants, if you kind of want to see what it looks like in the meadow.
Yeah, and so that's youtube.com/user/Beaver Lodge.
Thank you, Stella.
Yeah.
So definitely I want to do that. By the way, Dino just said that he was touched by me asking you about that question with all we're going through. And he says that he's really glad that y'all are using this dream project that's been going on for a number of years to enjoy life, but also to fight for the humanities that exist within life.
Thank you.
That was kind of a paraphrase of what he said, but definitely I think that everybody that I know that's involved with the pageant is also some of the greatest humanitarians that I know here in our greater Durham community, at least those of you that I know.
Thank you.
No problem.
We try.
So, I appreciate y'all being on here. Like I said, it's been airing live on Facebook Live, and we'll see what IBM TV can do about getting up and on their platforms as well, and on some of my personal ones. But hopefully this will get some people involved that might not have been involved in the past. But I greatly appreciated y'all joining me here, and we'll have to see how we can get more people involved out in this great event. Like I said, it's one of my favorite events. I took my friend Ray Pasco there one year, and then he's even made it a couple of years that I was not able to make it because of my work schedule, because he enjoyed it so much. He enjoys the diversity of it so much. So, like I said, I think he may have even attended more than I have just because of my work schedule. So I think I'm the one that introduced him to it, but I think he's actually attended a few more than I have.
Yeah, there really is something at the pageant for everyone. If you're not a fan of the environment, you're probably a fan of our costumes, or vice versa. I mean, but you can't help but smile watching beavers and people dressed like beavers. So please check out beaverqueen.org.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to have them do that. And one of the things that I will definitely miss is that I know I attended once or twice is definitely the camaraderie that goes on in the Beaver Pageant at its location and everything. But also there are a number of neighborhoods around that area where it became like a few block parties that would go on afterwards. I know staying there a couple of times till like, I want to say maybe 10 or 11. It might have even been later than that, just enjoying some of the ways that those block parties developed and turned into a very wonderful community celebration, even after the pageant had quote unquote officially ended. So that's one of the things that I will miss that aspect.
Shout out to the steamer deck. We'll miss you guys.
Definitely. So I greatly appreciate y'all being on here, and that'll wrap it up for us right now. Everybody get out there and check out the Beaver Queen pageant. Give them the website just one more time, either one of you, and then we'll wrap it up from there.
Yep. So
Beaver Queen.
BeaverQueen.org.
All right.
Go vote.
Yeah, and vote. Vote like your beaver parts depend on it. Now and in November.
Yeah. Definitely. Get those votes out there. Appreciate y'all.
All right. Thanks, Marc.
No problem. Jeez.